your overall lifespan. I mean, it turns out that how you physically interact with the world around you right now is sending some profound signals about your cellular health and ultimately your longevity.
I want you to really think about this for a second. Can a simple handshake actually predict your lifespan? When you're wrestling with a stubborn jar in the kitchen or hauling heavy bags of groceries from the car, you're probably not thinking about your mortality, right? But as we'll see from the data, those routine actions reveal an absolute ton about our biological age.
Understand just how critical this is, let's take a look at the PURE study. That stands for Prospective Urban Rural Epidemiology. This was a massive, and I mean massive, clinical trial spanning 17 countries with over 140,000 participants. And the findings, they are absolutely staggering. The data showed that higher grip strength was strongly associated with lower all-cause mortality over a 4-year period. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that grip strength actually beat out systolic blood pressure as a predictor for cardiovascular mortality. Just let that sink in for a moment. The strength of your grip was a more accurate crystal ball for cardiovascular death than a standard blood pressure cuff. Crazy, right?
Part 1. The biology of aging. Let's look at exactly what happens when we lose our grip.
Researchers have found this inverse association between hand grip strength and something called DNA methylation age acceleration. In plain English, if your grip is weak, your DNA is basically showing that you are aging biologically faster than your actual chronological age. Your grip is literally a crystal ball for your cellular health. Now, the biological threat at the very center of this functional decline is a condition known as sarcopenia. Simply put, it's the age-related loss of muscle mass, strength, and function. And while this muscle loss is a gradual process that can actually kick off after age 30, it really hits the gas pedal and accelerates after age 60. Sarcopenia leads directly to a loss of physiologic resilience, which just means your body's ability to tolerate and bounce back from stressors takes a massive nosedive.
Put a hard number on it, 1 to 1.4%. That right there is the percentage of muscle mass lost per year in your lower limbs as you age. When you start compounding that year over year, yeah, it definitely creates a very real sense of urgency.
Look, that loss doesn't just mean your pants fit differently. Cascading health effects of muscle disuse and weakness are severe. We're talking about increased physical frailty, cognitive decline, elevated diabetes risk, osteoporosis, and, like we saw with the PURE study, early all-cause mortality. Now, I know, these realities of aging sound incredibly scary, but the tone of this explainer is actually highly optimistic because the science shows us that these declines are entirely reversible.
Part 2. The resistance remedy. Reversing the biological clock.
Really have to stop looking at lifting weights as just exercise and start viewing it as a potent, non-pharmacological medicine that can actively reverse your biological clock. And this brilliantly illustrates that point. The consensus is crystal clear. This abstract from the National Strength and Conditioning Association explicitly highlights that countering muscle disuse through heavy resistance training is a powerful, proven intervention to combat muscle and strength loss, preserve mobility, and maintain independence in older adults. Major scientific bodies agree on this one. Lifting weights is quite literally medicine. This medicinal effect is especially profound during perimenopause and menopause. During this transition, females experience erratic declines in estrogen, and that can cause all sorts of metabolic dysfunction, mood changes, and vasomotor symptoms, things like hot flashes. Now, hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, is highly effective for this, but it's just not a viable option for everyone because of medical risks. Enter resistance training. It acts as an incredibly powerful non-pharmacological alternative. It's actually been shown to partially mimic estrogen's positive effects on the body. We're talking about lowering blood pressure, improving vascular endothelial function, and mitigating those metabolic and mood shifts. It's a total game changer.
3. High intensity for older adults. Efficiency over endurance. So it's a super common myth that as we age, we need to, take it easy. That older adults should stick strictly to light walking and gentle stretching. Well, we're going to bust that myth wide open. Enter high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. This is a workout style alternating between intense bursts of effort and lower intensity recovery periods. Now, high intensity is completely relative to you as an individual. You can easily gauge this using the talk test. If you can sing, you're at low intensity. If you can have a full conversation, it's moderate. But when you're truly working at a high intensity, you shouldn't be able to say more than a few words without desperately needing to take a breath.
Implementing this is actually super straightforward. Highly effective HIIT session has 4 essential steps. First, a warm-up with lower intensity movements. Second, your high intensity intervals, where you're just maximizing your effort, increasing speed, resistance, or incline. Third,
recovery intervals of active rest that are equal to or maybe slightly longer than your intense bursts. And fourth, a cool down with some light activity. What's brilliant about this is you can adapt it to pretty much anything. If you love walking, just walk at a normal pace for 5 minutes, then walk as fast as humanly possible for 1 minute, recover for 3, and repeat. You can do the exact same thing with swimming laps. The benefits of pushing your intensity like this are massive. HIIT improves your VO2 max, which is your body's ability to efficiently use oxygen. It boosts the function of your mitochondria, basically your cell's little energy generators. It increases fat-free muscle mass by 1 to 3%, and vitally, preserves your fast-twitch muscle fibers. Research actually shows that just a 20-minute HIIT session burns more calories and strengthens the heart more efficiently than long, steady, moderate-intensity exercise. Let's move to part 4, power training for independence, and see how this builds, because speed really matters. Talked about general strength and high intensity, but there is a very specific need for power. When it comes to maintaining your independence as you age, speed absolutely matters. This brings us to explosive resistance training, power training. Now, to be clear, this is not about loading up the bar with the absolute heaviest weight you can physically move. Not at all. It's about moving a moderate weight, somewhere around 40 to 60% of your 1 rep maximum, as quickly and explosively as you safely can during the lifting phase. I want you to think about your daily tasks for a second. You start to lose your balance, you don't need slow, maximal strength, right? You need the explosive power to quickly shoot your foot out and catch yourself before you take a catastrophic fall. Power training specifically targets those fast-twitch muscle fibers that naturally decline with age. Studies show that for older adults, power is often way more important than absolute strength for maintaining functional independence, like simply being able to rise quickly from a chair or climb a flight of stairs. Which brings us to part 5, your evidence-based prescription. Putting it all into action. We have all this incredible science, grip strength as a biomarker, resistance training as medicine, HIIT for cardiovascular efficiency, and power training for independence. Let's bring all this source material together to give you a concrete, actionable, and scientifically backed protocol. The crucial point here from the NSCA guidelines is that for strength, you want to be working at 70 to 85% of your 1 rep max. But for power, you drop that down to 40 to 60% so you can actually move the weight quickly. You should aim for this 2 to 3 times per week, performing 2 to 3 sets of multi-joint exercises. Absolute key to safely gaining these benefits is periodized progression. Basically starting light and gradually increasing the challenge and tailoring it all to your specific individual needs. Remember, your grip strength is a biomarker of your overall health, not just your gym routine. A holistic approach complements this training perfectly. Studies show that a balanced diet rich in omega-3s from oily fish, retinol, and magnesium directly correlates with better grip strength and longevity. And when you combine this nutrition with concurrent training, meaning you're doing both strength training and aerobic activity, research shows you can actively decrease mortality rates in older adults by a massive 20%. That is huge. He began by asking if a handshake could actually predict your lifespan. Well, science says yes. Your grip strength is a crystal ball for your biological age. But you know what the beautiful thing is? Future hasn't been written yet. You hold the pen. By incorporating resistance training, mixing in some high-intensity intervals, focusing on explosive power, and fueling your body properly, you can completely change the trajectory of your aging process. So, your grip strength is a crystal ball for your biological age. What steps will you take today to rewrite your future?